before you die, there's something you should know about us, Ethan.
What?
I'm your father's brother's cousin's nephew's roommate.
What does that make us?
Absolutely nothing. Once I replace you with Gary as co-host of the viewing room.
Oh, okay.
And now time for The Viewing Room with Adam and Ethan.
Welcome to the viewing room, where we talk about films new and old, local and global. Today we're going to be talking about Spaceballs, which was released on June 24th, 1987. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Ethan.
How's it going?
It's going. To quote Brando, the great Uncle Brando, I am physically present in this room at this time.
Yes. Now, when we talk about Spaceballs,
one of the single greatest movies of all time, I might add.
a cinematic masterpiece, you get a lot of varying reactions. In my household, when I brought up Spaceballs, it was, oh, yeah, I remember that movie. Oh, yeah, Spaceballs. My expectations going in, because I had never seen it, and you had never seen it.
I had seen it.
Oh, you had seen it. My bad. I
I've seen
apologize.
Spaceballs.
Sorry. Apologies. I wasn't sure what to expect, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was obviously released June 24th, 1987, the same day Lionel Messi was born. One of the famous football players of all time.
Yet, I think.
Would you say?
Yeah. So a lot of mine is from like one of the early episodes where I found out that the Australians like made being gay legal or something like that.
That is very exciting.
There
yes.
was I don't know what it was, but
it had okay. We're gonna talk about this. What do you think? Just when I throw this out there, this is an 80s comedy movie, came out 87.
Yep.
What would you think a spoof movie's budget would be for something like this, provided that Lucasfilm provided some of the shots and effects and stuff like that? What would you expect a budget like that to be on a movie like this?
In the like 3 or 4 million probably.
3 or 4 million, right? And I was thinking about 7. That's the number I had in my head, because I just didn't think that there would be a lot of resources being pulled into this. But
yeah, right.
I was wrong. 22.7 million was the budget.
Yeah.
Pretty high in my opinion. Obviously things balloon, right? Yeah. When we talk about Empire Strikes Back, which is Star Wars, they had an original budget of about 22 million, and then it ballooned to 30 because, other production costs, special effects, whatever, sound design, it adds up. Now, that is surprising. $11 million was A New Hope's budget, right? So
yeah,
obviously it's parodying different elements, mainly Star Wars, some Star Trek, whatever. But A New Hope, I'd say, is the biggest parody. And yeah, whoa, that's crazy. Obviously Yoda wasn't in A New Hope in that kind of sense. But yeah, like that's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
It's double A New Hope. Obviously came out 10 years after. 1977 was A New Hope. And 30 million was the budget for Return of the Jedi. Hi, Maggie. For
she knows I still
83.
have half a treat left. And she's staring very intently, waiting for me to give it to her. I'm waiting until you start acting up, because I know you're going to start doing that.
So you've distracted her for now. That's actually a good plan. I'm not upset with that logic. Let me look at my sheet here.
I got to point this out, because it's one of the things, I'm going to forget it at some point. So the movie opens with the classic Star Wars credits, and then we move into the shot of the spaceship.
Well, hold on. At the end of the credits, it says, if you can read this, you don't need glasses.
Yeah,
hilarious.
Great little thing.
Keep going.
But we're watching the spaceship go by, and it keeps going. And it's silent in the theater. And then all of a sudden, this man here just bursts out laughing.
Yeah.
And then the whole theater just bursts out laughing. But it was the funniest thing. Because, it wasn't funny yet. And then this man just starts bursting out laughing.
Yeah.
And everybody, there was 5 of us there watching it. And and it was just like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah, no, I started laughing because I thought it was funny. And someone a couple rows in front of us turned their head and looked at me.
Yeah.
Because I burst out laughing because I thought it was hilarious.
It was
funny.
funny.
It was funny because it just doesn't stop and it keeps going. It's a massive spaceship. I don't know. I thought that was hilarious. It did gross $38 million.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't consider it a cultural success enough for it to have Spaceballs 2.
It is a success if it makes money or if it doesn't lose money.
Sure. Well, in the eyes of IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, it was not a commercial success.
so many reviews that I read were all so negative.
Mm-hmm. I didn't read a single review.
I think you missed the point of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because, sure, it had the best cinematics I've ever seen in my entire life. The best music, the single greatest special effects shots ever.
Uh-huh.
Best acting, especially from John Candy.
This might be
just, I don't know. I don't understand what people are seeing.
I'll be honest with you, out of character. This may have been the first movie where I looked at the special effects and said, hold on a second. I think I could do that. Like in Premiere. And like when they did the lightsaber thing, and you can notice the beam was like the motion track.
Have I ever showed you the
keyframes or whatever?
Have I ever showed you the lightsaber effect that I did?
No, but lightsabers are like, I've heard you can do like
it's easy. I did it in Premiere. It's just a couple basic lights, like color layers with different luminosity and glow, and then you just keyframe around. Like it helps. I'm gonna overlay like right here the clip that I put together just as in my basement trying to work on it.
Play that sound now.
Yeah. So yeah, lightsaber effects like nowadays aren't hard. But then again, this is 1989. And actually, I saw an interesting little clip on YouTube Shorts today that George Lucas rejected some of the first 3D models or 3D renderings of X-Wings when they were doing it all 3D, like graphic design, because they were able to pull it with the 3D renders. They were able to pull off maneuvers they couldn't with models. But then he was like, they're too perfect. Like they need more dust and scratches and everything on them. But yeah, it's come a long way.
Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't say the special effects in this movie aged well.
No.
At all.
But then again, I mean, you compare it to something like a Ghostbusters, similar time. That's just how those were cutting edge special effects at the time.
Right. Well, even though Spaceballs, I think you can look at it and compare it to Star Wars of 77, and you can be like, whoa. This may have been a step back, especially for more of a budget. However, if we're going to talk about time and money and resources, we're also talking about a spoof movie. So, not that it doesn't deserve the highest quality things and care and attention, but also, come on.
It also makes it more funny sometimes.
You know what?
Like when they're flying a Winnebago through space and it looks really janky, like it helps you,
right? Like, maybe it's funnier that the lightsaber like fell off of the hilt a couple times. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take me out of the film. Like, did I notice it? Sure. Did I think, wait, hold on a second. I could actually do that in Premiere. Would it take me longer? Yeah, probably. But would it be better nowadays? Yeah, but it's also way easier to say that. 38 years in the future, it's a lot easier to say that and be like, oh, well, with my technology, I think I could do that. If I was a kid in 87, could I have done that? Probably not. No. Right?
Yeah.
Revolutionary. Maybe not as revolutionary as Star Wars itself. I wouldn't call this revolutionary VFX at all, because obviously it's a spoof of other things that have been done. But yes, I would say that to us, even though it looks kind of not aged well, and that we could do it, I do think that there's elements that, do have some of that specialty. So,
right, yeah.
Grossing $38 million, we talked about that. This was enough to make it the 24th highest grossing film in 1987.
That's pretty good.
The highest grossing film was Three Men and a Baby at about $176 million, I think. So, yeah, there you go. Obviously, that had a little bit more success than this one. I think number 2 came into one of the, not Bad Boys movie, but I think it was like, is it Eddie Murphy? What was the cop ones he did? Whatever, I forget. I that's gonna kill me if I don't look this up. Sorry, Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what it was.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. I was going to die if I didn't come up with that fact.
Yeah.
Cast: Rick Moranis, Daphne. Oh, Zuniga. Is that how you say that? Yeah. John Candy, Mel Brooks.
Yep.
Plays two characters.
Yeah.
Yogurt, obviously the Yoda parody.
Yeah.
And President Scroob, which Scroob is like an anagram, I think is what you call it, because Scroob is Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
Scroob Brooks.
Yeah.
So obviously a little play there. You know, it was actually before he was a filmmaker, Mel Brooks really wanted to be the president. And so this movie helped a dream come true by becoming President Scroob.
Of Spaceballs City.
Yes. And obviously it was still directed and produced by Mel Brooks. So he had a big hand in creating this. He had a lot of talks with George Lucas. We'll get to that in a bit, but I will read a synopsis if that's okay with you. In a distant galaxy, planet Spaceball has depleted its air supply, leaving its citizens reliant on a product called Perrier. In desperation, Spaceball's leader, President Scroob, played by Mel Brooks, orders the evil Dark Helmet, Rick Moranis, obviously the Darth Vader parody, to kidnap Princess Vespa, the Leia ripoff, Daphne Zuniga, of oxygen-rich Druidia, and hold her hostage in exchange for air, but help arrives for the princess in the form of renegade space pilot Lone Star, Bill Pullman. Now I think that's like a Harrison Ford, Han Solo mixed with Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker combined kind of characters.
That was one of the things that I found interesting about this is how like he's a Han Solo in his character and kind of the way he acts, but then he also has those Luke Skywalker elements where he goes and learns from Yoda or Yogurt. Yes. And can use the Schwartz or the Force.
Yes, and they're also joined by the half-man, half-dog partner Barf, played by John Candy, of course.
The Mog. And
yes. No,
I wonder
we don't need to do this.
So most people, they watch this movie and they're like, "Oh, that's John Candy." But hey, Ethan, do you recognize that as John Candy until the end credits?
Yep, I definitely did. No, I mean, maybe it's just a testament to.
I'm just shocked because you're a huge movie guy. You're even more of a movie guy than me. Like, you've seen more John Candy than I have, and I still knew that was John Candy.
I think when you break down the societal implications of this film and you realize how cinematic it is with its artwork and set decoration and costume design, you kind of get into elements of, wow. Sorry, I'm going to cry. It was just so beautiful that as I was going through, I was just so enthralled in the direction that Mel Brooks went that I can't put words to it, but like I got lost, and in space even, you could say, and all the real world just fell around me, and no, the tears are coming there. You can see the tears coming.
We need to send this to your agent because you can get acting gigs with this.
And I was just like, wow, that was a cinematic masterpiece. And the reason I didn't know it was John Candy is just because, and God forgive me, it all blended together so much. And the fact that it was like Chewbacca and John Candy combined, it was just like, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Wow. And I never thought I'd see something so beautiful as long as I lived. And I'll never forget this. Just in that theater when the lights came down and I saw him, and I got lost. So, yeah, that's why I didn't know it was John Candy. That was so dumb. Can we just cut that whole bit?
No,
man? That was
great. And I'm sending it out to all the acting agencies, and we're gonna get you some gigs.
I gotta get the tears from my eyes, man. That was funny.
I'm just impressed you can cry on command.
I can.
Cannot. I can't cry if I want to cry.
No, I don't know. This is a weird ability where I can just like kind of like get tears to come down. But there you go. That happened.
Must be that depression.
That's not even funny.
I think it's funny.
Is the fact that I paid $96 for a tank of gas today. That's probably what got me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, my empty light wasn't even on. That's probably what got me. No, I love my new car.
It's way more fuel efficient than your old one.
It is. Just a bit of a larger tank. So we've read the synopsis. I mean, we can go into a really deep plot if you want.
There is. I mean, the synopsis pretty much outlines the plot.
Yeah, so we have Princess Vespa. Princess Vespa. Is that her name? Yes, Vespa. Oh my God, it just blew my mind. So the princess, she's gonna marry a prince who she doesn't love, Prince Valium, which is a play.
Well, you just made the same mistake that the priest makes. Remember?
Yes.
Sorry, it was the hair or whatever.
Yeah. Prince Valium, obviously, maybe a little bit doped up. He's kind of sleepy.
Like I said, it's a Lord Farquaad, but like drugged down or like drugged up Lord Farquaad.
And I guess she doesn't want to marry him, but the king, whatever, wants her to, so she's going to run away. She gets trapped and kidnapped by Rick Moranis, who's playing Evil Helmet Man, Dark Helmet. Excuse me. Oh my God, excuse me. Dark Helmet. Can we cut that out? That's so gross. I burped into the mic. She gets kidnapped. She gets run into Rick Moranis, Dark Helmet. And they kind of tussle, whatever. She gets kidnapped. She escapes thanks to John Candy and the other dude.
Lone Star.
Oh my God, man. This is going to be tough. Yeah. This is like this parody. Whatever. She gets rescued. She gets kidnapped again. Oh my gosh, the world is ending. They blow up the Death Star. I mean, the magical vacuum robot that is the Enterprise. It's the Enterprise, massive spaceship.
But it's like the Enterprise, like crossed with the Statue of Liberty almost.
And it's a transformer goes, and then all of a sudden, like Shia LaBeouf comes out of nowhere. No, that doesn't actually happen. Was Shia LaBeouf alive? Yeah, he probably was. Shia LaBeouf was probably born when this movie came out. He's probably like, what, 2 or 3? Imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, Shia LaBeouf. I don't know what.
Probably 30.
I'm talking out of my ass as I do in a podcast. So this is just a shit post. I just realized like this whole episode is just. This is straight to the cutting room floor.
There's not a lot of meat here. Like this is going to be a short episode. Like
maybe.
Like honestly, we keep it under.
I can keep trying to fake cry if you want, and then we can make it an hour. No, but I mean, really, you kind of know what happens. It's like mixtures of elements of Star Wars. You know, obviously, we meet Yogurt. He kind of has this thing called the Schwartz. It's a Force. We throw in some Jewish jokes here or there, which Mel Brooks was not too fond of. In the end, his biggest regret was making those Jewish jokes, but he still thinks fondly of them. We'll get to those in a bit. But yeah, I mean, whatever. The druids, the evil Spaceballs are stealing from the druids, trying to suck all the air out of their planet. So they have this big Hoover spaceship robot transformer thing that sucks all the air. What's his name? The Han Solo ripoff.
Lone Star.
Oh, God, I can't. Lone Star, which is a synonym of Solo or whatever. You get it.
Yeah, not cinnamon. It's a synonym.
Synonym. Whatever. You get what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I'm bombing here, but that's fine.
Yeah. I love the Winnebago, where it's like it's a Winnebago.
Yeah.
That just reminds me of Sneakers from 1990. Robert Redford, James Earl Jones. Dan Aykroyd. It's a great movie.
Okay. I need to ask you a question. This is a bit of a serious question. I saw some comments on like IMDb basically saying that Rick Moranis was having an African accent and then like making his voice go deeper as it goes through. Was that an African accent? I wasn't sure.
Okay. I mean, they're probably trying to
mimic James Earl Jones.
Yes. But he doesn't have an African accent because he's from Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
His isn't an African accent.
Was Sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing. It just was.
Yeah, from Mississippi, and I wouldn't say he had an African accent. I didn't personally notice it as an African accent.
Yeah, I didn't.
But I wasn't really looking for his accent. I mean, there's the funny parts when he's got his mask on and it's the cliche evil voice.
It gets
or whatever.
deeper as the movie goes on, which is supposed to be a nod to James Earl Jones as his Darth Vader also got deeper. Look at us looking at cinematic elements in Spaceballs, but I don't know. I wasn't like, there's some people like, I was so offended when he did the African accent. And I was like, okay, no, maybe we should have been offended.
No.
But I didn't.
I don't think there's a should or shouldn't be. I think that it's wrong to say. Oh,
I just wanted to get you riled up.
Well, no,
I just saw my opportunity to get you riled up.
You know, saying you should be offended by something that's wrong. You should be offended that somebody says you should be offended.
Yes.
And I mean that you should be offended.
Yes.
But then again,
I'm offended right now by you saying.
Yeah, right. Maybe, but then again, I also think you shouldn't be offended because you should have your own opinion.
Mm-hmm. And what does that make us? Offended. Oh. We have
a podcast telling people what to think.
No. We never tell people what to think. We just tell them aggressively what we thought until they think the same thing. And that's how the internet works. No. Anyways, I was just bringing that up because I wanted to get you riled up more than anything else.
It worked.
And yeah, I wasn't sure if that because we can talk about an element here of how things age. And I want to point out one thing in the realm of spoof, comedy, whatever. I've seen Airplane, we've seen Wayne's World, we've seen Spaceballs now. I want to bring up the point that I think the humor in this film aged more or less better than Wayne's World.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it was, and you talk about it because you brought that point to my attention.
Well, I just think Wayne's World is so many pop culture references and references specific to the time. You know, someone like my dad or someone of that generation watches Wayne's World, they get most of the jokes. Someone like you or I, when we watched Wayne's World, I think we gave it a pretty low rating and review because we're most of these went over our head. We don't get them. They're pop culture references from the 80s. It doesn't make sense. But something like this, if you've seen Star Wars, and maybe not even seen them in detail, but you just know the basic outline of Star Wars, and maybe not even, you're still going to get a lot of the jokes.
Sure.
Because it's just goofy really more than anything, right? They're not referencing all the pop culture stuff. It's just things that are universally goofy, you know?
Sure, maybe you could argue you have to see Star Wars to understand, so it creates a niche market, but I don't necessarily agree.
If you haven't seen Star Wars, some things are going to go over your head. Absolutely. But not enough to make it not worthwhile. Not to the same level as Wayne's World.
And I would also argue, and you can disagree with me, and we can talk about this, but even if you've watched Star Wars once, I think there's still a ton of stuff that will fly over your head, and it's designed to fly over your head, because I think some of it's also a little bit too, not nerdy necessarily, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It definitely plays off of it so much that I feel like you were just like a random lady who had seen Star Wars once in 1977 with her kids, you probably wouldn't understand this movie very well. You know what I mean? But if you were a diehard nerd with Star Wars, I am, and you had seen Star Wars 100 times and it's one of your favorite movies of all time, like it is for me, and I credit it as being an intro to filmmaking for me.
Yeah.
Like it is for me. You'd probably get more of it.
Yep.
So I think you have kind of a niche there, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe that's not a great thing for ticket sales, but I think it helps people who do understand and enjoy it a little bit more. Unless you get those fans who are like, they've desecrated my baby. They turned Yoda into yogurt.
You know what? Those fans can shut up because George Lucas liked it, and he's the ultimate Star Wars nerd.
Really enjoy this.
He's the ultimate Star Wars nerd. So
there's an IMDb fact that I read that George Lucas was crying, laughing, and he thought he was going to burst something in the theater because it was so funny.
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't laughed that hard in a movie since we watched Deadpool and Wolverine earlier this year, or last year. Holy, that was last year.
Yeah, it was last year technically. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the theater reaction. It was something special about seeing this, thanks to Coliseum Presents, Aaron and Rachel.
Yep.
But there was something special seeing this in the Broadway theater. Shout out to the Broadway theater. Just without group, there was 5 of us that went together, and the theater was nice and full. And man, I just can't believe how great it was. Honestly, laughing throughout the whole thing.
Group experiences like that make comedies better.
Actually,
some movies, if you see them with a group or by yourself, it doesn't matter as much. But comedies, it's just so much better because then you start laughing at how the person beside you's laughing.
Right.
And it just, everybody laughing, it just makes it more funny, and there's an energy and an atmosphere that you don't get anywhere else.
Yeah, it's interesting because you hear different people talk about how the movies affect them, right? And for me, it's the theater atmosphere. Part of the reasons why I would love to make movies myself is getting people together in a room and sharing that experience.
Yeah.
When you go opening night to an Avengers movie, maybe you're not watching cinematic gold, but there's excitement in the air and people are laughing and having a great time. Deadpool and Wolverine was like that. Huge audience
when
reaction.
Tony Stark gets the Infinity Stones and everybody's cheering,
Yeah,
or like when
exactly.
Captain America catches the hammer.
Right. There's a sense of camaraderie and that makes it awesome, right? For some people, it's being high alone in their room watching Interstellar and like, oh man, that was the craziest thing that's ever happened to me.
Are we talking about Gary?
Yeah, we're talking about Gary. But I don't know. It's different. What's it for you? Like, let me ask you that. What's it for you?
What's a theater experience?
Yeah. Like what? Well, no. Like, what's the drive for you for movies? Like, what's your optimal viewing experience? Is it alone in your basement with a can of warm Coke, or is it? Because I know you
You're
like
never
those
gonna let
warm
me
Cokes.
forget that.
Or is it in a theater surrounded by the ones you love?
It depends on what the movie is.
Okay.
It really does. I mean, I like watching like Oppenheimer. Like I just watched that laying on the couch at home.
Mm-hmm.
I would have far rather seen that in IMAX,
I saw it in IMAX. Yeah.
but I don't want to see it in IMAX with people. That's a movie where I want to be focused in. But something like this one, I would far rather see that with people. I don't really care whether it's on the couch at home or in a theater. I just want to see that with people.
Yeah, this isn't like a movie where like you're going for the 4K ultra realistic cut, like screening IMAX 3D. You know, you
And it's like
don't really
cinematically intense and like you're into the story.
There's no intense sound
No.
design where you know what I mean.
Random
Where you
blaster
feel
noises
in your
thrown into the
chest.
music.
yeah, exactly. like dare I say, this might be a stoner film. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously different for everyone. So I'm happy you kind of said that, and we kind of talked about that because I think that is important.
Yeah.
And it brings a deeper discussion into why, I thought I really enjoyed it, and you thought you enjoyed it.
I mean, I love this movie. I've always loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, for me, it was special seeing it in theaters surrounded by my friends because, some of it could be I'll be honest, it's a bit of a drag at points. You know what I mean? Like some
Like
of it's like, I just think there's some moments where sometimes the jokes don't hit and you're sitting there and you're like, okay, like I'm kind of ready for it to be done. I kind of felt that a few times in the movie. I was like, okay, like let's get this over with. Not be like, because you could kind of see how it was going to end. Right, but like,
yeah, I mean, you kind of not kind of, he's gonna get the girl. It's just the way it works.
and then like a funny joke happens and it's like, snap, okay, I'm back into it. Right, the laughter kind of jogs a little bit into you, like keeps going. Right, in terms of rewatchability, like I don't think like you know what I mean. I don't think this is on my rewatch.
This isn't one that I'm gonna rewatch every year or anything. Like the last time I saw it, I was pretty young, so it's been probably 12 years since I saw it. But like,
I will say, when I show my kids Star Wars, I will probably also show them Spaceballs.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, just because. Yeah, like I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm just saying there was parts that I thought like, oh, maybe that could be cut down or something, or didn't land as well.
Yeah, but I mean that's any comedy like that is. I mean, you think about how hard it is for you try and write comedy or something and it comes out like dog shit. So to be able to write comedy that's going to keep people entertained for an hour and a half straight is impressive. And so I'm not too worried about the fact that you lose it at points, because that's any comedy movie ever, and you almost need those breaks sometimes. Otherwise you're going to hurt yourself laughing or something, like.
I agree. And I think you said something there too. It's like, stuff that I find funny, you're not going to find funny.
True. That's also very important.
And so I might write something and I show it to George Lucas and he finds it hilarious and I find it hilarious. But then I show it to a test screen and they're like, a 4-year-old wrote this. I mean, right? And the original first cut of this film was 2 hours and 20 minutes long. And they got that cut down to 96 minutes, which is what the final run time is. But yeah, could you imagine a 2-hour cut of Spaceballs?
That would be a bit much.
Wow.
I think.
So yeah, I mean, you can kind of see throughout the cutting room floor what gets chopped. And so when you think of things that might feel slow in a movie, imagine what was cut. Like, you know? And I think you fall in love with it a bit, right? When you're the director and you want to cut it down and you're like, we can't cut that out. That would be devastating. And then it ends up getting cut out by a studio or something. And you're like, okay, wow, I didn't realize it would still work without that.
Yeah.
You can kind of see here, 2 hours and 20 minutes to 96 minutes.
That's a full half hour.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's a full hour.
Oh yeah, right.
An hour and a half, or whatever.
50 minutes.
An hour and a half. Yeah, whatever. Like, I'm not going to sit here and do the math, but yeah, it's insane. Like that's a lot of meat cut out of that film, right? And I think that, it does speak to that, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to pick up my phone that I dropped forever ago because I have another fact for us.
Okay.
So my dad and I were talking about this yesterday, and my dad was asking me, hey, do you know why George Lucas allowed this film to go forward? And he explained to me why. And I'll read off of IMDb because it's like verbatim what my dad told me, but it'd be better if I just kind of read it instead of tried to recall. But my dad said the same exact thing, so I know it must be true because dads never lie. In a 2013 television interview, shortly before receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award, Mel Brooks stated that he personally obtained George Lucas's full permission to parody any and all things Star Wars related, but on one condition. Absolutely no merchandise of any kind be produced from this movie. This is the reason why all yogurt and the dinks do is merchandising. It is also why none of the merchandise in this movie was ever mass-produced or publicly sold in any way. So basically, to summarize, yes, George Lucas was like, you can make this, but no merchandising. So Mel Brooks.
I love that like when that actually shows up in the movie through merchandising, it's just so like out of left field, pull it out of your ass comedy, and it's just hilarious.
Yeah, but that's exactly what George Lucas did with Star Wars, because imagine being a kid in that time, and even now, like thinking like Lego Star Wars, Lego action figures. But that's exactly what they had. They had a whole line of lunch boxes and action figures and cereals and all this and holiday specials, right? And
like they say in the movie, that's where the real money's made.
That's where the real money's made, right? And so, George Lucas was like, okay, you can't do that. But he did find it quite hilarious that, hey, we're going to make a bunch of spoofs of this in the movie. Yeah. And I just can't believe, George Lucas watched the rough cut. Isn't that insane? He watched the actual rough cut before they cut it in. I just like thinking about, and like he volunteered time at his like sound and production company. I forget what it was called. Not Lucasfilm, but like the other one, like the sound one.
I don't remember.
But man, like I just can't believe how much of a hand George Lucas actually had into making this. Yeah. And he complimented, I remember reading this too, he complimented Mel Brooks, and he said, if you hadn't parodied Star Wars, you would have had one hell of like an action adventure movie on your hands. and Mel Brooks was just like, man, like he just like the compliments were crazy. He didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And imagine George Lucas telling you that, man, that would have been crazy.
That would be the greatest moment of your life.
Yeah, exactly. I was making jokes before.
Maggie, I don't have any more.
Oh.
I gave you the last one. And you want, don't give me that look. Now she's ignoring me. Like Deadpool says, long sullen silences followed by mean, hurtful comments followed by more long sullen silences.
Yeah.
I see we're at the long sullen silences part.
Yeah, Maggie's about to freak out. I talked a bit before about the barf costume and how it was so emotionally captivating. Yes. But there was some art to the barf costume because it took 3 people to operate. John Candy controlled the tail with a little thing in his paw, like a little remote control in his paw, and 2 different assistants controlled the ears and the flopping of the ears via like remote controls.
I did notice that actually, like the tail and the ears were very, very well done, and they fit his acting. And
I did think a couple of times, I was like, how is he doing that?
That's true. Yeah.
Like I was definitely thinking like, what's going on there, especially with the ears, because I would imagine that you would have like one of those things that does this. Yeah. But obviously he wasn't doing that at those points, so I was like,
But the other thing you think about it too is like, we say it's just a little wireless remote or something, but like 89 or when did it come out? 89?
87.
87. Like it was. That's still a kind of an impressive feat, like something like that on like not noticeable, like it's not like just connect your Bluetooth to a little servo motor or something, and I don't know, I just think it's impressive.
Did they have remote controls in 87?
Well, yeah, but like it wasn't quite as easy, I think, as it is nowadays. I don't know.
They're a big studio, I imagine you probably have the technology though, right? Like Jaws and stuff like that, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
I mean that's what I compare it to, but I don't actually know. He did, John Candy have a 30-pound battery strapped to his back for the costume times.
That's tough.
Imagine how hot that would get too. That'd be crazy.
That's true.
But here you go. That's another fact for you. And another fact, as I look at it now, The escape pod sequence was provided by Lucasfilm as cut footage from one of the Star Wars films. So when the escape pods launch, I don't know exactly what part or element or effect, but that was actually given to the production team by Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
So there you go. George Lucas did love it. That's kind of what I have for facts in my toolkit. Let's talk about the comedy. We talked about a little bit about how it aged better from Wayne's World. Maybe we should mention that there was a couple jokes that didn't land very well. There was a couple silent parts in the theater. He's talking to the bearded woman, and
I was laughing at that.
There's this line, and the whole theater was completely silent after this line, though. And I think, was it Rick Moranis? I think he says something like, I forget the line exactly. Was it "Be quiet, you ugly bitch"?
Yeah.
What was the line, or something like that?
Something like that.
Whole theater was silent.
I was laughing.
I couldn't hear you laughing. The whole theater was silent, and I think everyone was like, "Hold on a second."
It's just different times, man. Like, I mean,
yeah. And like I said, I didn't think that one landed as well as it probably did in '87. And the other one I think was Druish. They have the Druid people, and they call them Druish, and they talk about how all these Druish princesses is like money and things like that.
Yeah.
And they have weird noses, and at first it's like, oh, it's funny, they're making fun of Druids, and then you're like, hold on a second.
They're making fun of English royalty.
No, they're making fun of Jewish people.
No, English royalty. English royalty.
Are you being sarcastic right now?
No. I didn't think it was Jewish people.
What?
I didn't know. I didn't think that.
No. What? I
didn't think that.
That's what it factually is. That's why the jokes didn't land as well as you probably thought, and you were the reason you were laughing in the theater. It's because it went over your head.
I was laughing for a different reason.
It didn't land as much as it probably should have. Some people thought it was really funny. Again, I'm not making a political statement or anything. We're not going to do that. I'm just saying that's what it was when they were talking about Druish. No, it wasn't English royalty.
Okay.
They were talking about Jewish and money and things like that. They were making stereotypical jokes. That's why Mel Brooks has the statement saying that he regrets making Jewish jokes, but that he still smiles and thinks back on them because he did think they were kind of creative.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. I don't care about that. But that's why he regrets it. I'm just making a fact there. And I think that's why, this film did age a little bit better than Wayne's World, but would be unfair to mention that there is some kind of stereotypical jokes in there that, hey, maybe they wouldn't fly today and people would be outraged and try and cancel Mel Brooks for making this film. But, I mean, it happened, right?
Yeah.
Can't really go back now unless we scrub it from the records. But then
it's impossible.
Yeah. There you have it. Like I said, I think
I don't know.
I had a great time in the theater.
Yeah.
I was laughing, and none of it made me go, oh my God, we need to go to Twitter and cancel and cancel Mel Brooks for saying all these things. And Rick Moranis, God forbid, man, like he said those things in '87.
That's the most ridiculous thing when people dig up stuff from years and years and years ago and they use it to cancel people. In my opinion, I'll try not to get too political, but in my opinion,
take a breath, buddy.
No, this is important to me because it happens all the time, especially in things like movies. You have to remember that these things were made in a different time. We could do the same thing in 30 years. Somebody might dig up something you said in a movie today, and they might find that absolutely ghastly. They might find it absolutely ghastly that we would say such a thing. But now right now it's considered progressive, and I think that especially with movies, like you just have to remember, it was made at the time. Especially as we're reviewing these classic movies, it was made at that time.
Right, and I think there's even some people who. Obviously it's different for everyone, right? And like I'm not going to make any statements. I will say by making a statement that you have a good point where you talk about it's progressive now. In 30 years it might not be progressive. Even then you might be like, well, at least I didn't call him the N-word, right? You know what I mean? There might be people like looking at it in that mentality.
Yeah.
Right? And I might sound crass, but you know what I mean? Like some people like, Ethan 30 years ago, he said that he was offended by someone being offended. Now, we don't talk about feelings anymore because that's not fair.
Well, you also have to look at intent, right? Like, was that intended? I'm not even gonna say was that a joke, because I think it's a joke. But was that statement intended to put somebody down, or was it intended as a joke?
Right.
It's a joke, right? And I get some jokes aren't funny, but
it's different strokes for different folks, right?
Right.
There's different ways to look at it. Obviously, maybe in an older demographic, on average, you'd find a lot more people who are like, that's pretty tame compared to some of the stuff that we might have heard or listened to,
True,
right?
Yeah.
Especially like older movies and media. And then you get people nowadays who are like, whoa, that's crazy. And like I said, it's not black and white. It'll never be black and white. That's why I don't get into it like too much, because like for me, I kind of like to take a step back and be like, at the end of the day, I don't care that much because someone said something and it's not like anyone died, right? And I'm treading water here, but
I know what you mean.
Like,
I don't know. I think
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that feelings matter. Feelings very much matter, and they're very important. And I think it's unfair to look at how someone feels and be like upset at them for feeling that way. But I would say that like as a whole, everyone's allowed to like feel their own way, and that's just how I feel. So I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. And I don't think we said anything offensive there.
No.
And if you think we said something offensive, let us know at the viewing room _ on Instagram and at Dufferin Avenue Media on Patreon.
Yeah, I think we prefer on Patreon if you let us know on there.
Yeah.
If you have a problem with something, just subscribe to that Patreon and let us know.
And who knows? Maybe we are being offensive and tone deaf and out of touch, and we apologize.
I'm not apologizing.
Okay, I apologize on behalf of Adam and myself.
No, he doesn't apologize. He doesn't speak for me. I don't apologize for anything I've said.
Yeah, I don't know if we really.
I stand behind my words.
I think we treaded very carefully, as we always do. We're pretty careful with what we say.
I'm great at treading water.
Yeah. 2.5 minutes, world record.
I did 10 minutes for my scuba course.
Yeah, you know what? Can I be honest with you?
What?
Completely off topic. I don't think treading water is that difficult.
It's really not.
They're like, what was the level 10 swimming course? Like, you have to tread water for 3 minutes or something like that.
It's really not.
And I'm
that
like,
hard.
people are like struggling a minute and a half in. Like, brother, where were you on the Titanic? Like, you would not have made it. Like, you would not have made it.
Honestly, but it's not even that hard. Like, your body wants to float.
Your body wants to float. Like, what do you do when you get tired of treading water? You lean back. like it's not that difficult, right? So, like,
honestly, the hard part for me is distance swimming. Like for my scuba course, we had to swim. I think it was 600 meters, 300 meters. It was 6 lengths of the pack pool at the university with the bulkhead all the way to the wall. And so I think it was about 300 meters and then tread water for 10 minutes. And honestly, the distance swim's what got me.
The distance, as an overweight, unfit guy, the distance swimming is what gets me too. Yeah. My body has a lot of mass that wants to spread out and float up to the surface. So that's kind of, and I'll get canceled for making a joke at myself in 30 years is what's going to happen now. But no, I just think it's a lot easier for me to float. It's like throwing like the door in the Titanic. There's a reason why Rose was able to fit on that door. It's because it's spread out, right?
There's room for both of them on that door.
Yeah. No. But yeah, I don't know. Like this is so out of topic, but yeah, when we talk about treading water, it's pretty easy actually. Mm-hmm. That's how we know we've run out of things to talk about the movie.
I think we call it here.
Yeah,
there's not a lot to talk about with this movie.
What do you like and dislike? Is there anything in particular?
We've discussed it. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
I think it's funny. I actually thought it was funnier than Wayne's World.
Absolutely.
I thought it was creative. The special effects, they were laughable, but
I think that was the point.
It didn't need to be exceptional. You know, if you go to an A24 horror film and the effects are laughable, not that A24 films ever are laughable like that, but if you went to one and like that was hilarious, you know, maybe it'd be like, oh, they missed the mark. But we're talking about a 38-year-old film. The math's probably wrong. I'm not going to care. We're talking about a 38-year-old film, and it's whatever, right? Like, you didn't need to be.
You're actually bang on.
It is 38? Okay, good. If
I did my math correctly. No guarantees there.
Yeah, whoops. it didn't need to be exceptional, extraordinary. Detail's always appreciated, but it got the detail where it mattered, man. Right?
And the little references, those little reference comedy, that's the important part of a parody.
Yeah, and the acting, there's no Oscar winners here, right? It's just a funny movie. You laugh, you have a good time, you take with the boys. We had a good time just laughing in the theater. Shout out to Ben, Garrett, Adam, Reed, and I guess myself for going. Yeah. And Aaron and Rachel at Coliseum Presents. Thank you for puting on
Bob's Buttons.
Such an incredible show.
He's been bringing buttons to every single
Bob's
thing,
Buttons.
man.
Oh, man.
I've got I'm getting a huge collection of Bob's Buttons.
I know.
Great.
I'm gonna have to make a movie jacket or something.
Yeah, right.
Create a button collage.
Wait, hang them on the set.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah, stick them in the chair.
That is a bad idea.
Are we ready to rate it?
Yeah,
Are we getting out of here? Okay.
I haven't thought about this.
I haven't thought about it once either. I'm just gonna see what you said and play along.
I'm gonna give it an 8.4.
Oh my god, I had a good time in the theater, but not that good of a time. Oh my goodness.
We've talked about it a few times of late. Audience enjoyment. That's how we try and rate. I was watching a lot of the critic stuff or reading a lot of the critic stuff, and a lot of them were talking about how it's all the problems that are all the things that we find good about it, where we're like, maybe it wasn't perfect, but it made it more funny. They're like, yeah, this wasn't perfect, it sucked. And so all their reviews are really low, and I'm like, I don't like that. I enjoyed it. I think you have a good time. So
That's right.
8.4.
I had a good time. I had a really good time in the theater. Now, in terms of other elements and jokes, there was a lot of funny moments. And I'm kind of, for me, part of it too, a big thing that I'm going to give it a lower score is rewatchability. I don't think
completely fair.
I don't think I can rewatch this film and enjoy it very much. A lot of the funny aspects were surprise elements. Now that I know that the president, when he beams himself, is actually in the room over, I know that's coming. It's not going to be very funny next time.
That's very true.
Even though it was really funny in the theater.
Unless you watch it in 20 years and you've forgotten everything.
Sure. So for me, I'm kind of looking at a 6.5. Ooh. I know that's kind of low.
You're wrong.
But, I mean, for Spaceballs, man, maybe a 7. And that's not a bad score. I'm not looking at a 3 or 4. I'm actually going to say 6.5. I'll say 6.5. I enjoyed my time in the theater. Am I going to rewatch it? Probably not, or not for a very long time. I'm playing with my mic again. Sorry, I know we talked about this before. I did a very good job this episode, though. I didn't touch my mic a lot, Actually, maybe we'll rewatch it and you'll see I touch a lot. You can see me a couple of times slapping my hand, not doing it. No. I don't know. I enjoyed my time in the theater. Let's say 6.5. Okay. Because, you know what I mean? I'm just not going to rewatch it. If I was thinking halfway through this movie that I'm having a good time and I'm laughing, but I kind of just want to listen to John Williams' score and watch Star Wars.
You want to watch? One thing I do love is that they throw all the random laser sounds in
the score. Yeah. It was a good time. Should you watch this movie? Gather the kids around. I mean, probably not. I mean, it's kind of inappropriate.
I wouldn't say gather the kids around.
There's a lot of B words. The more I think about it, lots of
swears,
shits,
but also a lot of
like
innuendos as well.
Sure. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's very family friendly, but whatever. If you're going out with the boys, you want to watch a funny movie, you know what? Throw it on, have a couple drinks, have a couple laughs, and enjoy your night, right? There you have it. That's Spaceballs. There you go. Thanks for watching. I'm Ethan.
I'm Adam, I think. I don't really know.
Yeah, we don't really know after this. You've just watched The Viewing Room. You can follow us on Instagram at @TheViewingRoom_. And you can follow us on Patreon or subscribe to our Patreon, however that works, at Dufferin Avenue Media. You'll find it there. Thank you,
Coliseum
guys.
Presents as well. ColiseumPresents.ca.
Yes.
They have lots of cool events.
Aaron and Rachel, we can't thank you guys enough. Pretty quick, we have Labyrinth coming up. That's going to be fun, I guess, next
Misery's
week.
Next week.
Misery.
Labyrinth was a few months ago.
Labyrinth was a couple months ago. Misery. I don't know why I said Labyrinth.
Misery, Groundhog Day, Dirty Dancing, Toy Story.
Look at you.
I can't remember the name.
And I was
going to
say
that.
February 2nd, Groundhog Day, but with Bill Murray, and it's playing. And that's going to be exciting. I really love Groundhog Day. It's one of my favorite Bill Murray movies. It's actually my uncle's favorite movie. Did you know that? I never thought it would be someone's favorite movie of all time. But
I haven't even seen it. So.
I really enjoy it. So thank you guys for watching The Viewing Room. You have a great day.